Hello, everybody. Welcome to our weekly Ask Me Anything here on Dotto Tech Live. How the heck are you all doing this fine day? Here at the channel, we try and make technology a little bit more accessible for everybody, helping you be a little bit more productive. So I am looking forward to spending some time with you today. Let me just check that my audio is good. It's all working good. Oh, good heavens. So this is the third or fourth week that we're going to be doing this using Ecamm Live, and I'm starting to get a handle on it, I think, a little bit better. I figured out how to monitor the chat now, so if any of you are generous with the super chat, I'm going to be able to see that much more easily. So our rules here are pretty loose and goose. Loosey-goosey? Loose and goosey. Basically, 45 minutes or so, a visit chat talking about recapping what happened this week, allowing you to bring forward any topics that you're most interested in. We get so many comments now happening on YouTube, and I do read all of the comments in YouTube, but I don't get a chance to respond as much because it just takes too much time to write the responses. So this Ask Me Anything is kind of my opportunity to give back to the community a little bit and answer the questions that are most at the top of your mind. They're also going to kind of take your temperature as to what's happening, what you're interested in seeing more of, and it helps me set the chart, set the standard for what's coming up in the upcoming weeks on our, as far as our video releases goes here at Dotto Tech. This past week was pretty darn good. We had what videos did I release this week? We released 2 videos this week. The first one was Gmail. I answered a whole wacky of questions on Gmail, on the new Gmail interface, and we also showcased actually the product that we're looking at. I'm using right now, Ecamm Live. And so if you haven't checked out that video on Ecamm Live, it's kind of cool because it shows the setup of Ecamm, and then it shows the actual production when we're actually on air live a couple of weeks ago doing this exact process. So you can see what my screen looks like, exactly what I'm looking at right now as I'm delivering the live product. And I was remiss. In the video, I didn't mention, I guess, the best Windows alternative, because Ecamm Live is only Mac. But I didn't mention the best Windows alternative, which is probably BeLive, I think it's called. Is that BeLive? I believe. Yeah, it's like BeLive, which I am going to be testing out very, very shortly. Haven't used myself, but if any of you use it, love to know. Hello, Solitaire Kid. Rob McKenzie from Toronto. With the new government, in place, which is we just had a provincial election here in Canada, in Ontario. I'm way on the other coast. But it was a bit of a surprise election, and yeah. So that I was seeing Steve Jano, sad but proud. I thought when I saw sad, I was thinking he might be referring to the Anthony Bourdain story, which is freaking tragic, and I'm still having trouble getting my head around. But he's actually sad about his Las Vegas Golden Knights losing in the final. Been there 3 times with my Vancouver Canucks. Never had the joy of hoisting a cup. We made it to 2 Game 7s, and each time it came up super short. Chris enjoyed the Ecamm video. Yeah, I liked how that came together. It was kind of cool because I showed the back end setting it all up, and I recorded it over a week and a half or so, and then we actually screencast, we were lucky we were able to do it, because when you try and record a screencast and the video resources and audio resources are being used for the feed as well, it can get a little bit out of control in the recording process, but it all turned out pretty well. I'm actually kind of proud of that one. OBS, Solitaire Kid. OBS is a great choice. I find it's a lot more difficult to use, though. At the end of the day, it takes a lot more technical clarity to be able to use a tool like OBS for live streaming. But it certainly opened the door for the concept of streaming and improving the quality of these live streams from people just doing them normally on their phone with a shaky video and not being able to respond to comments the way that we're able to do here. I think it's just upping the game, because these live broadcasts, I mean, the early days of the live broadcast, it was just so cool to be able to do it. But now we've got to raise the standard. If we're going to be taking people's time to watch us stream something live, I think it behooves us to make sure that the quality that we present is as good as possible. So that's I'm really happy with what's happening with all of these desktop streaming tools and how approachable they're getting. Oliver Bertrand hello from Canada. I'm in Canada too, so good. Brian King from Ireland. I had the best conference I was ever at was the one in Ireland a couple years ago. We had so much fun. Yeah, OBS, indeed. Good. So, what's on you guys' mind? Fill me in on what's on your mind. Arnie from Yakima, Washington, just a little bit south of us. How you doing, Arnie? How you doing? Frederick Colger, greetings. Getting my head around this to enable live class presentation for remote Bible study. Yeah, the concept of Frederick, it's going to depend what platform you're on, if you're on Mac or Windows. But if you're on a Mac, I think Ecamm Live for me has been a joy to use. And I'm not saying that Be Live is not a great platform, but Ecamm Live gives me the opportunity. One of the things I like about it is it's the only tool that I've seen that allows me to easily insert my video stream into. Well, you can with OBS or with Wirecast, but it allows me to insert a pre-recorded video stream, which is a great way to present live. And I know it sounds counterintuitive, but if you've got a lesson that you can pre-record and you can make sure it's as tight as possible and is all kind of composed, you can insert that in the stream like we do in a live television broadcast with B-roll, just inserting the B-roll. And then you can talk over it if you want, or you can engage in chat while it's flowing through, and that gives your community a really good opportunity. So yeah, it's just terrific from that perspective. Sorry, there's a lot of chats going on. How many people we got in the room right now? We're up to 80 people, but there's lots of chat happening. So if I miss your comment, sorry, reinsert it in the stream because I'm not necessarily going to scroll back too often in the stream to catch the comments. Dave from Ashcroft, BC. Hello, Dave. I wish I was going through there right now because now I normally drive through Ashcroft right around this time of year on my way into the interior of our province to go fly fishing. It's my passion. I love fly fishing. It's just great. But I actually don't even have a trip on the books right now. We got so concentrated on the wedding and all of that sort of stuff because I've just been married for a month now. So unfortunately, I haven't been able to get out fishing yet. So London Dine dates. Steve, have you ever talked about Facebook advertising or experienced it? Did a recent video that had 2,100 local views, but no page likes on our Facebook page. You know, we've done a little bit on Facebook ads, and that is becoming such a professional application. I've done some videos on it, and we have a primer to it in our Webinar Wednesday archive. So every week we do a live Webinar Wednesday here at Dotto Tech, and we take those webinars and we put them into our Patreon account for the benefit of our patrons. And so you can go back and you can see them all. Now, the Facebook ads webinar that we did is just a primer at surface level for Facebook ads. And you can find lots of videos and lots of people who do tutorials online on this topic. But what's happened with Facebook ads is they become so sophisticated, and Facebook keeps changing the interface. And not only do they change the interface for presenting the ads, but they change the algorithm for how they're presented. And it's a really challenging process. And I've come to the determination that Facebook ads, if you're going to be delivering Facebook ads to your Facebook community and you want to make that worthwhile, you have to get somebody that's 24/7 doing Facebook ads. It's not something that you can do now any longer on the side of your desk because Facebook is just designed to siphon money away from us and make it really easy to take money with. And there's hardly any accountability. Yes, you can track, but it takes quite a bit of sophistication to understand what your tracking metrics are, into setting proper goals for your campaigns, and to put the proper type of ads into those campaigns. And then, most important, is choosing who to deliver those ads to, designing your custom audiences, and building that entire infrastructure. It's way more elaborate than just boosting a post and sending it to people that have already liked your page. It's a difficult and challenging process. It can be incredibly profitable, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's anything we do anymore off the side of our desk. So for us, for Dotto Tech, we run Facebook ads every day. And I do two things with them. I list build with them, so I try and get people engaged in the community that might not know me. And the other thing is I push traffic towards one of our online courses, and only one, our Evernote course. And I drive traffic towards that Evernote course. And the Facebook ads break even with the number of sales versus the number of how much it costs me to do those ads. But I've hired an outside company to manage that whole process, and it still breaks even with that included. But I figure I'm coming out ahead all the time anyways because I'm constantly putting my content before new people, and it's growing my community at the same time as it's making sales. So it's pretty. I guess you'd call it in the retail business a lost leader for me. The fact is, it's bringing in new opportunity, not necessarily bringing in real revenue for me. Now that's our business. Lots of businesses make money off Facebook ads, but I would dare say, it's my opinion, and my opinion only, that more companies lose money you doing Facebook ads than are profitable with Facebook ads. I think it's almost like Vegas. You're gambling a little bit with your money when you're doing Facebook ads. Not if you have a really good constructive strategy and you've got good goals and objectives and you do it really professionally. But if you just dabble, it's a gamble. It's a real gamble. Good. So Hirakash is asking, is TubeBuddy safe? I'm not too sure what you mean by safe. I certainly think it's a tool that I use a lot. I'm switching back and forth between it and vidIQ, and I quite like both. But TubeBuddy's been a big part of my YouTube strategy for a long time, and it's helped me an awful lot in publishing to YouTube. So as far as I'm concerned, it is safe. Absolutely. Good stuff. Oh, a super chat in. Thank you so much. Let me take a look. Eddie Brown, thanks for all you. Well, Eddie, thank you so much for contributing. I appreciate the generous support. That is awesome sauce. It's great stuff. Okay, Morton, I just checked and decided to stop my Evernote Premium. I just don't use it like that anymore. I'm not surprised, Morton. Evernote is it's either a product that I guess it's not either. But if you are using the premium version, you really have to be taking advantage of and using it full time as your main note-taking app. And personally, I think the advent of how robust tools like Google Keep have become, nowhere near as sophisticated. But for that simple type of note-taking, it really fits the bill as well. So I'm not surprised. A lot of people are upset. One of the most regular comment that I get in our Evernote group, because we have a group called Evernote Made Easy, which is the support group for our Evernote course, and the comment that we get the most from people who are kind of going through and deciding whether or not they want to take our course, etc., is they complain about Evernote's pricing strategy. And I don't know. I mean, Evernote is not that expensive. They've pushed the barriers. I think they've pushed the limits for their pricing, but I'm wondering if the fact that they gave so much away for free for so long doesn't end up becoming counterproductive at some point in the product development cycle, because people are used to getting stuff for free. Once you claw it back and start charging people for those services, people get pissed. And I think that ends up happening an awful lot. And so I think Evernote, they're a company that's kind of I don't think they're teetering as far as viability goes, but for them to have continuous growth is going to be a real challenge for them to get people on board because of all of the free tools that are coming down the pipe. And also just the negative energy that's generated from it just takes a couple of voices complaining about pricing to complain about the pricing to impact the overall feel, the overall image that a company has. I can tell you right now, when we do webinars and we'll have 300 people live in a webinar and 5 people are having connection issues and they're complaining a lot, or commenting a lot. Well, I won't say complaining. They're commenting a lot. It feels to us, and it feels to others watching the webinar, if you see constant stream of the complaints, that everybody's having technical issues. And then when I go back and look at the analytics, I realize it was only 3 or 4 or 5 people out of 300 that were having connection issues. The squeaky wheel definitely is the one that people notice. Absolutely. Daniel Wilson, a super chat. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. That is awesome for you to have sent that through. I'm just going to take a screenshot of this because I'm doing something. There we go. I hope that worked. Yeah. Well, it's interesting. It just takes everything background, but it doesn't take the foreground of it as well. Okie dokie. Let's get back to this. Good stuff. All right. Next question. As I go along here. Gabriel, good afternoon, Steve. Long-time watcher, first-time poster. That's it. You should say on radio. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Poster. Good. I wanted to get your thoughts on Outlook.com versus Google. I don't think that there is Actually, I'm going to be talking about this coming week in Webinar Wednesday. Technically speaking, there's probably some differences. There are obviously a few little differences. But at the end of the day, using any online service like this or any productivity service, Google or Outlook or if you go Zoho, whatever model you go, there are always going to be some benefits to one service over another service. And there are always going to be some detriments from one service to the other service. Pick the one that fits the best for you and don't look back. But I'm giving away my entire webinar. You make it the right decision by making it the right decision. In other words, and this is almost a life lesson, but once you've made a decision and you've got something, it's up to you to make it work for you. So you dive in and you learn the features, you embrace them, you make it work in your world, and you build your systems around the decisions that you've made. And then you make it the right decision. You know, I often talk about this from a perspective of CRMs, which is one of the most difficult decisions small businesses make, online businesses. You know, are you going to choose Infusionsoft or Drip, or are you going to choose Entreport, or are you going to choose, you know, the new Kartra? There's all of these different products that you have to make a decision on. And it's almost impossible to make a completely informed, it's not almost, it is impossible to make a completely informed decision because the systems are so sophisticated that it takes you a couple of months to get your head around using them in your business. So you take the information that's available, you make your best decision, and then by taking responsibility for making that product work, you make it the right decision. So that's kind of an overview of my thoughts on Outlook versus Google, you know, talking about if you're on the horns of dilemma for decision. But as far as actually making a decision, if you live in a Microsoft world, if you're in Windows to start with, and you're, say, in a business that uses Microsoft Outlook or that has Windows applications, if you like using tools like Word and Excel and you really, those apps are a big part of your life, Outlook is a great way to go. If you live in a little bit more of an online and SaaS world, software as a service world, and maybe you're on a Mac, and you're maybe not part of a larger enterprise that has a vested interest in a tool like Microsoft's tools, then Google is a great choice. But it's not the only choice. You could still just do just as well with Outlook. But definitely if you do live in a Microsoft-centric world, I would choose Outlook. I hope that helped out with that. Art, am I happy with Final Cut Pro? I am happy with Final Cut Pro. I'm not happy with me yet. I'm still learning that. I'm trying to get better. The biggest challenge I have with Outlook, with Final Cut Pro, frankly, is the file management, is how it deals with the digital assets and understanding where they live and the nomenclature for that Final Cut has between projects and that sort of stuff. So I am producing only my vlog every week with it, and I'm only up to like my 19th vlog. I think this week is 19 or 20. And I didn't edit them all with Final Cut. I kind of used a ScreenFlow for a while before I got to Final Cut. So I'm still getting my head around it. But I do like it. The power that it has is just incredible. And the problem that I have, though, is I look at using Final Cut Pro and I use it at such a pedestrian level. And then I watch these other phenomenal vlogs from Casey Neistat and from these kind of guys. And I look at what they do with their editing, and I go, oh my God, that's so beautiful. It's, they tell the story visually. I'm good at telling the story through words. They tell it visually, and I get a little bit jealous, and I frankly get a little bit intimidated by it, because now I've got a tool that I could actually do that with, but I don't have the camera and the skills to shoot that yet, or the imagination to envision what that video is going to look like. But I'm working towards it slowly, and it's a really interesting journey. But Final Cut Pro, it's certainly a rock-solid product. I tell you, one thing that's unusual is it's easier for me to edit and better for me to edit on my PowerBook, on my notebook, which has the dedicated video card, than on my big-ass heavy Mac Pro. It struggles with it a little bit more than my notebook. That's counterintuitive, I got to tell you that. Daryl, I did say, I caught Daryl's? Yes, I did. Or Daniel Wilson. Thank you so much for that super chat. I just see that there as well. Okay. Let's get to the next question. Morton, when you have to pay something like $90 a year for Evernote, then the look at OneNote, and that's free. The choice isn't really that hard. Yes and no. Yes and no. OneNote's a great tool. OneNote is a great tool. But again, it's that $90 a year for me is and I use Evernote right at the heart of my productivity system. The fact that it's central to everything and I've built all my systems around it make it worth it, regardless of everything else that we're talking about. Oh, I know why I can't see that. It's because that is happening. There we go. I had a screenshot living down in my bottom part. Oh, well, it's okay. It's just me. Operator error on my side right now. Okay. Solitaire Kid says, as Steve always says, dive into your tool, make it work for you. Show's over, guys. We can go home. Okay, true. Well, I don't want you to go home yet. We've got still a good, half hour that we're planning on having here. Okay, my hardware is Samsung, my software is Google. Stephen Alley, good stuff. Arthur, I like Outlook, but the pricing for Office and 365. Okay, again, you can get it. You can almost get everything for free. Here's an issue that I have. It's one thing for Google to give me something for free, and or for Microsoft to give me something for free. But if I'm looking for that functionality free, and I'm talking about Evernote, or if I'm talking about any other product, I kind of don't want that company giving too much away for free if I'm relying on that company for a core part of my business. I want to give them money. Why? Because I want to support them. I want them to be around. I don't want them, as has happened with so many great apps, being acquired by a Microsoft or being acquired by Google and then sunsetted because they have another product, as happened with Sunrise Calendar, which was a wonderful tool that Microsoft acquired and killed on us. And they're like, what? It was a wonderful tool. We loved that tool. Oh, thanks a lot, Microsoft. And Microsoft. So when you have a tool that's being built for a user base and their value is in the user base, as opposed to their value is in their income stream, that to me is a reason to be concerned about investing fully my systems in that tool. So take that for what it's worth. But it concerns me when things are free and I don't see their business model. And that when I'm the product that they're going to sell to somebody else, it's not such a good deal. I'd rather give them some money. I'd rather give them some money. All right. Oh, my comment was about the pricing related to Final Cut. Oh, I didn't see that, Peggy. You agree about pricing, can't afford it. Got it. Free can limit your productivity. Yeah, and the other thing about free is you're not really committed to it. It's like when we always say that with our when you've got a course and you give it away for free versus people paying for it, they see more value in it when they pay for it. I mean that's that's the flip side of that coin, but it's a worthy consideration. So Morton, my main productivity tool at the moment is To Do. I just think it's a great piece of software. That's because Morton, I guarantee the reason that it's a great piece of software for you is you've dived in and you've used it and you've figured out how it all works and how it all fits. Now for us here at Dotto Tech, just as we were rebuilding all of our systems, Asana released a new version that had boards, much like Trello has boards. And I was always a fan of Trello, but it just never really took off for me. I think there was just a few things that just drove me crazy. Like their limit of tags that they used to have and the coloring and stuff. It just made it hard for me to organize. And then Asana, which I'd always liked from a technical perspective, came out with this new version that allowed us to have the same kind of Kanban boards. And we just embraced it as a business. And it has become the heart. It has become a tool that, again, we couldn't build our videos. We couldn't run our channel without Asana. So there's lots of good ones out there. That is for darn sure. Arthur, Outlook used to be free. Also, I would not mind paying a small fee, but not what they charge for it. Yeah, there are thresholds. And it depends on your use too, right? It depends on your use. Yeah. Indeed. All right, let me check out some other. Is Todoist still good? What's the best alternative from Mohammed? I don't think that, again, I wouldn't recommend a alternative. I think Todoist is an outstanding product. I haven't used it in the last little while, but I don't see people fleeing from it. I haven't heard any negative reviews on it. I think Todoist is a better personal task and productivity manager than a team task and productivity manager. For that, I do look to a tool more like Asana, but you can scale it up. You can scale it up to more of a team mode. So, but yeah, if it's one that you're interested in, it's a darn good choice. Absolutely. Good. All right. How many of you followed Apple's? Curious. How many of you followed Apple's recent the Worldwide Developer Conference? It was a man, oh man. When they're not releasing new hardware, it's pretty much of a nothing burger for me. I watched it and I tried to get excited and interested in things, but it just, the thing that interested me most out of the entire Worldwide Developer Conference was this. Apple's duking it out with Facebook. It's like they're pissed at each other, and it all started with Zuckerberg's with the fake news story when Zuckerberg was just kind of hung out to dry. And Tim Cook went public and said this would never happen with us because basically we're mature and we run our business well. And Zuckerberg was shooting back, and they started going back and forth. And now we see little product decisions, which I don't think are really, personally, I don't think they're really about what they're presenting to us. I think they're taking shots at each other. And the thing that Apple is doing now is they're taking shots at Facebook's, well, it's probably more than a shot because it could affect Facebook's core revenue model. Because what Apple's talking about doing is stopping Facebook from doing one of the most important things Facebook does as far as tracking for ads. You know, we're rolling back to, 15 minutes ago when we were talking about Facebook ads here. You know, if I'm reading into Apple's, short little description of what they're going to be planning on doing as far as blocking tracking pixels and stuff like that on our websites to improve our privacy, that is targeted, as far as I'm concerned, with a bullseye right on Zuckerberg's forehead. That is directly related to Facebook. And while I think that as a Facebook advertiser, this might cause me some challenges down the road, I don't build my business around Facebook ads, so it's not the end of the world if Facebook ads happen to go away. I like Facebook as a community building site, but if it went away tomorrow, I wouldn't cry. But all of the challenges it's going to place on me as a business person are completely replaced by the entertainment value of watching these two guys go at it. Because I used to love Jobs and Gates going at it and that sort of stuff. And there was always Larry Ellison on the side chirping away back in the day when we were still in the operating system wars. But this could be far more entertaining as we go along. So I don't know if you guys are enjoying that dialogue as much as I am, but I'm certainly liking it a lot. All right. Morton, I love Apple. My new MacBook Pro is nothing less than awesome. You are one of the first people I've ever heard say that. You don't mind having a single USB-C connection? Okay. But the conference was straight up embarrassing. Yeah, it was boring. As I say, nothing burger. Like, what are you doing for desktop systems? Oh, we have dark mode now. I can make my screen dark. I mean, they basically didn't do too much on that front. But in Apple's defense, I mean, being asked to constantly innovate is a huge burden. It's a huge burden. And, if they go through a quarter where they don't release something new and amazing, it's like, oh, what's happening? And that's what I'm doing right now. Oh, what's happening? But I am long-term, if we kind of boil back to where my disappointment comes from, Apple does not seem to be very committed to computer hardware anymore. They've built some amazing, unbelievably expensive new iMacs and stuff like that. But their decisions, they've made this courageous decision multiple times. Going back to first removing the floppy disk from desktop computers, I was all fine and dandy. Yes, they were right on that. They've done multiple decisions where they've removed technology before the rest of the community is ready to remove that technology. And they did that, and that was the game plan with USB-C in all of the notebooks. But I bought one of those MacBooks, and I tried traveling with it and doing speaking engagements with it, and it was nothing less than a nightmare for me. And I'm pretty technically competent. But I went back to my old MacBook Pro that still has old school USB ports in and HDMI ports in it, like real ones, not ones that I have to go through an adapter for. If Apple had released a proper series of adapters for these devices so that we really knew that we could go on the road and be confident and they would connect to all of our peripherals, it would be fine. But they still haven't done that. And they're not showing any indication. So that's my challenge. That's kind of been driving me a little bit crazy. Okay, Apple materials. The Apple material was, but not on their user level. So I'm not sure what you're referring to there, Phil. Tom, Adobe Premiere compared with Final Cut. The thoughts. Okay, when I was deciding on Final Cut versus Adobe Premiere, the decision for me, what was the key? the key decision for me was Premiere. I think it is, and correct me if I'm wrong, I can run Premiere offline. I mean, I can run Final Cut offline. I can't run Premiere offline. You have to be connected to the internet in order for Premiere to run. And I believe that is true, which meant that I had to, if I want, like I go on long flights regularly, and I like to do a little bit of video editing and that sort of stuff when I'm on a flight. So I couldn't do that. And that's what it kind of came down to as far as the decision process. Plus, Final Cut was a purchase, whereas Premiere was a subscription. So that was another thing. I didn't want ongoing costs. I'd much rather pay up front. But I know a lot of people use Premiere. It's an awesome tool. I've got a bit of history with it. Back when I was in software sales and distribution, we rolled Premiere 1.0 out in Canada. I was one of the first people to train people on the use of Premiere back in the day. Obviously, it's changed a lot since then, but I've got a lot of fond memories of it. But that was the reason I chose Final Cut. Plus, I plan to stay on Apple hardware for some time, and just the integration with the fact that their hardware is really tweaked to work really well with Premiere. That was also part of it. So there we go. Okay, Solitaire Kid. I still feel that the decision to remove the headphone jack isn't a healthy one. Yeah, that's the other one. Yeah, they've done it on the. Now, it hasn't bothered me too much on my iPhone because I got to tell you, I love these. The AirPods, they're pretty good. They're pretty good. And because they're so freaking expensive, this is the first time in my life I haven't lost a pair of headphones in 6 months. Yeah, so that's that could come back to haunt them. And well, Dennis, thank you so much. The message was retracted. I don't know what you said originally, but Dennis, thank you very much for the super chat. Appreciate the support. That's awesome. Madman, Apple is suffering without Steve Jobs. No two ways about it. Yeah. When you have mercurial leaders like that, it's tough for there's just no way that the intuition of a Tim Cook is going to be the same as Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs, at the end of the day, his genius was his intuition. His genius was understanding what his community wanted, what was cool, what was relevant, what they would spend money on, what they would buy, what drew them. And I'm not sure that intuition would carry through as strongly with the millennials as it does with the Gen X, Gen Y, and baby boomers, which was kind of there when Steve was still driving, when Steve was still at the helm. I'm not sure if it's a generational thing or not, if that would translate to the youngest generations now and in the youngest consuming generations. Having said that, there's just you're not going to have very many leaders that do that. There's a lot of things that you can criticize about Steve Jobs, but what you can't criticize is his vision and his understanding of marketing and of product design and of what we wanted and how it fit in our lives. Yeah. And there's no way that somebody that's come up through the ranks as a subordinate could have that same intuition, could have that same insight. So I think actually Apple, when I think about when Steve passed, what I thought Apple, my concerns about Apple, most of them have not borne fruit. They're not they obviously aren't as cool and innovative a company, but they're still right up there. They're still, Samsung hasn't leapt past them, and nobody else is. They haven't slipped, but their trajectory has slowed. I will say that. Their trajectory has slowed pretty dramatically. Good stuff. So interesting. All right. That's interesting. So I'm getting different chat. I'm just comparing my chat I'm looking at the feed here and the feed here, and we don't get the chat coming through as fast in Ecamm as it is. That's interesting. Okay, so I'm looking down in the YouTube feed right now for the comments. That's really funny about my AirPods. Yeah, I tend to lose them all. Oh, I lost everything. Solitaire Kid, any tips to becoming a scheduling ninja with Google Calendar? What are the things that work for me for Google Calendar? there's a couple of add-ons that allow people to to schedule with you. We were showing things like we've got a video on what's the boss one called? It's I've lost the name of it right now. Just a minute. Let me take a look at my browser. Actually, I don't have it right there. Book Like a Boss. That's it. There's a lot of tools. Calendly is one that if you integrate it properly, it can really reduce the number of cycles that you have to spend scheduling. But there's so many different ways that you have to schedule. Using a tool like Google Calendar. Are you scheduling a project? Are you just doing your personal time? Are you scheduling appointments for somebody else? So I don't really have any outstanding tips for you as far as that goes. But check our channel. We've got a bunch of videos on that topic online. So I'm just trying to consolidate, looking at the comment feed up above and the comment feed below, or in YouTube, and it's not keeping up. That's interesting. So that makes it more difficult for me to engage in the chat using Ecamm Live only. I'm glad I've added this bottom one. All right, Dennis. How are you popping the automated subscribe Twitter flags in the lower third? How am I popping them in? I believe that is happening automatically with, in Ecamm, I can change up the screen. For example, I can right now let you know about our upcoming webinar Wednesday. See that? So I'm using scenes that are built into Ecamm Live. So if you watch our video on Ecamm Live on YouTube, you'll be able to see exactly what I'm talking about there. So we can insert any sort of graphic directly in, and we can even go to a video. Speaking of which, next week on Webinar Wednesday, on this coming Wednesday, we're going to be talking about my productivity secrets, which I kind of teased a few of them off the very top, but how you become far more productive. Let me just grab the link for you and put that in. There we go. Let me find a Webinar Wednesday link. There it is. And let's put it in. I hope we've updated it. I'm pretty sure we have. Take a look at that. Actually, I'm just gonna check that myself, making sure that that link is good. Come on. What is it? Ah, good. It's going to the right place. We use the same link every week, the exact same URL, and then we have to change the referring link to the latest webinar. So that worked out well. I'm glad that worked out well. There we go. Okay. So anyways, that's how I put in these different lower thirds. So, I wasn't too sure what we were going to talk about today. So I have another one said, do you trust Amazon? Because my sister keeps texting me saying, Amazon keeps changing the prices. They're all thieves. And so I don't know. So I was going to ask you guys if you trust Amazon. But you get an idea for how we do this. If I want to encourage you to subscribe to this channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, which should be down there, I believe. Yes, right down there is the subscribe button if you're not subscribed to the Dotto Tech channel already, which I suppose most of you already are, or you wouldn't have heard about this particular live stream right now that is streaming to you. And then I can bring back up my lower third that has my name on it. There we go. So that shows you all of that. All right. And the thing like the touch bar, I love that darn thing. Oh, it's interesting that you love the touch bar. I haven't experienced using the touch bar, Morton. He's talking about on the new MacBook Pro, but I'm glad that it's working for you. That's a good thing. I thought it was kind of like, really? But it's good to hear that it's actually something that makes a big difference. Good. Oh, Morton, Steve, have you ever used a thing like an external GPU? No, I'm just looking at those now and getting my head around what they are. I've never bought one. I've never tried one. But now that I'm doing a lot more video editing, I'm considering it. So what he's talking about is an external graphics processing unit, which is like a big-ass video card that helps you process stuff like video, but it plugs in to your computer, and so it's an external source. So it's not like in our old workstations, we would buy GPUs and we install them to allow us to do things like render video more effectively. This is one that plugs in externally, which is really exciting, and it's something that I'm definitely going to try out. I've just been reading about them recently. I hadn't really looked into them too closely, but I am going to give them a shot. Are you using one? If anybody here is using a GPU, let us know. I'd love to hear your comments on how they are working for you. Dave, Are there any good reasons to switch from Apple Mail to Google Mail? I hate Apple Mail. I've always hated Apple Mail, but I haven't used it in 4 years. So I'm speaking on history. Back in the day, it used to drive me crazy. And so I switched to Google Mail a long time ago. So the only reason that I would say for sure if you want to switch from Apple Mail to Google Mail is if you don't believe you're always going to be an Apple, and you might want to switch. If you're in Google Mail, it doesn't matter what product you're using. It doesn't matter if you're in Android or in Windows or in Mac. When you get a new system, a new phone, anything, you just log into your Google account and everything's there and everything's set up. That is such a dream come true. Not necessarily, certainly if you're going from Apple to another product, you don't have that. You don't have that comfort. So you're going to have to make a switch at that point there. If Apple Mail keeps crashing for you or just causes all sorts of inconsistencies, still the way it did years ago for me, then there'd be a reason to switch to Google Mail. But if not, if it's not broken, then don't bother switching. And there's no point in borrowing trouble because regardless of how easy I say it is and how happy I am with Google Mail and the rest of the people in the forum here are on Google Mail, it's still going to be a pain in the ass to switch. So don't go chasing it unless you've got lots of time on your hand and you're ready to be a little bit frustrated and second guess yourself occasionally. So that's my advice as far as that's concerned. Morton, I will buy an external GPU in about 2 weeks. And I've done some more research. So if you've decided which one, drop in or maybe a link or tell us which ones you're thinking about buying because I'd love to take a look at it and then let us know how it works out more. And I'd love to know. I'm fascinated by that. Peggy, I use both Apple Mail and Google Mail and forwarded all my Gmail messages to Apple Mail, so I only have to check messages in one place. Yeah, that's good. That's a good way to do it. IMAP or Exchange email systems. Gavin, get back in your DeLorean, drive to the clock tower. It's just... Webmail is so taken over, as far as I'm concerned, for most things. That certainly in corporate world and in the business world, having an IMAP or Exchange systems is part and parcel of it. But for so many entrepreneurs and small providers or smaller businesses, there's just no reason to go through all of the machinations and the challenges that you have to have in running your own mail server. Let Google do it. Let somebody else do it. That's my opinion. So I don't really have any advice to give on that topic. And to be honest, when I did run my own systems, and we still have our own mail server on one of our systems, one of my accounts is going through our own server. But my web guy, he manages it all. It doesn't fall on my shoulders. So it's his problem. It's always going to be his problem. Sue, I started using Google Keep this week based on your recommendation. Thanks. Working out well. Question, how about if you have a really long note? Should I put it in Evernote? If you're not using Evernote for everything, if you're not using Evernote and you're just going to have the odd long note in it, I'm not sure I'd put that in Google Keep. I might look to Google Docs, storing it in a document instead. If you don't need to add the piece of Evernote to your system, don't. If you can run it all just with Google Keep, then do that. It's not that I think Evernote is a wonderful tool, but I don't like having my data too fractured. I like having certain silos of information in certain places and know exactly where I have to look for everything. And if I have to look in two places for one thing, that is, in my mind, that is a sin as far as productivity is concerned. I don't like having to do that. So that would be my recommendation on that point. So I would look at another way to do it if you just have the odd long note. There we go. Arthur, would like to know more about GPU? Yes, myself as well. Peter, Google offers a lot of functionality through Google Drive alone. You can make and host websites with very little investment. Yeah, you can do, Peter, you can do websites in Google Drive, but they're pretty pedestrian. Actually, they're incredibly pedestrian. They're really limited functionally wise. But certainly other things in Google Drive are huge and pleasant surprises. For example, the ability to be able to create polls and to be able to do online forums. They've got some wonderful tools there that are actually quite robust and completely free. So it's, I always, that's a big part of what our channel is just showing people what Google does. It's always our highest rated videos as far as the number of views. Anytime we show anything on Google, that's the most views. Steve, have you been using Trello much or less since you started using Asana, or both? No, Gail. Other than looking at Trello for demos, which is a very kind of surface level look, I haven't used Trello as a task manager for several years since we embraced Asana. Trello has slipped, and Asana is the place that I spend my time there, as far as that goes. Morton, I thought about buying the Alienware graphic amplifier. That is an eGPU. Okay, I'll check that out. That's a good. I'll look at it as well. How are we doing? We're 45 minutes. I think we are going to call it a day. It's been a good and entertaining chat. I have found a technical challenge where the chat hasn't kept up with in Ecamm Live. The chat has not kept up, so I'm going to do a little bit of research on what has happened there. And I'm really glad that I made sure that the chat was open in the browser as well at the same time. Actually, I can screen share. I'll screen share with you, and I'll show you how I have it set up. Let me just go back here just quickly, because I know a lot of you are quite interested in this. I'm going to go screen share. There it is. So you see here, if you take a look at the screen itself, I've got the video playing in the upper left-hand window. This is the chat, which stopped working partway through. It stopped feeding the chat through. But down here on the bottom, I had the browser window, which I'd minimized with the chat, or not minimized, but I'd windowed it down. But you can see the chat happening here on the right-hand side. So this is where I had to go to look to actually engage in chat. I should have been able to do it up here in this section right here, but I was not. It stopped and it froze way back when the madman said Apple is suffering without Steve Jobs. So that's like 15 minutes ago. So if I had not had the chat open in the browser window as well, which was on the YouTube Live page, I would have thought that my community of 111 people online were all really upset with me and not willing to chat with me and not willing to talk to me right now. So that is today's kind of lesson from that we've got from Ecamm. Still a few warts happening with it. Good stuff. Let me go back to the chat. Good. Okay. Let me just quickly. Yeah. Fun, lively conversation, Peggy. Thank you for participating. And good. I'll take one last question. Buffy Anissa. Does Evernote have the ability to be a project manager as an alternative to Asana? No, I do not think so. Evernote is a notebook. It's a really advanced notebook that you can do a lot with. You can do some meeting stuff and some project stuff, but as far as actually managing tasks, checking them off, attaching assets to the task, creating timelines, if you buy the premium version, creating dependencies where once this task is done, then this task is done. Having notification, creating a timeline, creating a calendar automatically out of the tasks. There are so many things that Asana does that Evernote is completely unable to do as far as task and project management. That's my take on that. And as a matter of fact, I've just started working on a new video on Asana, which I'm hoping to publish in about 2 weeks. So next week, we're back with another live on Friday. The following week, I won't be doing this because I will be at VidCon. Looking forward to that. Any of you going to VidCon, let me know. Hopefully we can say hello to each other. It has been a pleasure sharing this Friday morning, afternoon, evening, depending on where you are. That's it. Do I have any other call to action? Nope. I'm just going to let it go at that. Thank you very much. Make sure that you have subscribed to the channel and share this video with friends if you think it is of value to them. Until next time, folks, I'm Steve Dotto. Have fun storming the castle.